The library's been reconfigured and updated for a correct collection of books, involvement of instructional technologies. That's the most crowded library probably in the state, I could imagine, although I might not have picked that red furniture for my living room. I probably wouldn't have picked maize and blue either. Okay, let's go inside the question of the computer lab. That computer lab has roughly 30 computers. But as I said, we're all moving to laptops. How many have a laptop at home? Raise your hand. Okay. How many use your phone a lot for that stuff, right? Text message, raise your hand, right? Okay, you get my point. People aren't going into the computer lab. So let's place that in the terms of dollars and cents. Money. Computer lab, 1,000 square feet, 30 computers. Okay, $1,000 a computer, that's 30,000. Well, what's 1,000 square feet worth? Well, that 1,000 square feet plus halls and walls, 1,500 square feet, times, let's say, $200 a square foot, sounds like a $300,000 deal. Now let's maintain it, heat it, run it, boom, boom, but is it getting used? I'm trying to show you, when you go inside your building, every part of it is a capital asset. Every part of it is an instructional instrument. And the question is, are you getting the biggest bang for the buck out of it? Especially when you're going to laptop computers, the right thing to do. But let's go inside that question. How many of your schools are bursting the circuit breakers because they're plugging in all these laptops to make sure they're available the next day? But you can't just upgrade the electrical because you'd be putting it in the wrong place. I kind of compare that to upgrading a 1955 Chevy. Man, I got a passion for a 55 Chevy. I love them. But you get into it and you spend all the money on it. A friend of mine said, you know, I spent twice the price of a new car. And I still can't get an emissions test to get passed, right? So I'm trying to weigh the emotions of history compared to the futures of education. Here's one, a room that used to be a home and family consumer science room, home ec for some of us. When we take a closer look, it's now used for small groups and art, special needs and gifted. In the back's the piano. Same thing applies, a 1,500 square foot space, that costs about $250 a square foot. That's about a $400,000 room. If this were an investment portfolio, you'd be asking about, am I getting the best return on parts of my investment? Again, an instructional space, I'll move on. That instructional space for small group, right outside a hallway where the acoustics are, again, not going to work for you. A couple of the older schools, incredibly well kept, clean and neat on the floors. I respect and appreciate it. They've tried to adopt some internal spaces for storage, but they're wrongly configured. And they've remodeled a few to be small group spaces. Now I admire the effort, but what's the question? If these decisions were made independently, one after another, well, today I'll get up and this one I'm going to do, tomorrow I'll do that one. It's not in the context of a master plan. It's not a holistic approach to the question. So you're going to misspend dollars. And then when the building is less utilized, as we talked about, each dollar gets multiplied. Now here's a great photo. A great teacher does resourcing, again, resource space. Except when you realize that every kindergarten student walks through that classroom to get to the one bathroom. The time, it's hard enough with, how many have a kindergartner? How would you like 20 of them and then try to herd them through a classroom to all go to the bathroom? These issues are compounding, and I'm not being rude, I'm trying to be honest. A great science program being offered in a media center area, that's one approach to that topic, but an emerging trend is to say what you are doing elsewhere. And that is, you're putting your science in your classrooms. Remember, I showed a teacher doing that. But that requires that classroom have some accoutrements to support science. Surfaces, electrical, scientific equipment, proper storage, a sink possibly. So I'm trying to demonstrate it's like a car with 3 pistons going. You need all 6 in this world. As I finalize, here's a school that I walked into and I said, wow, this is great. What visibility of the front door? Security, that's really on the ball. That's really the issue we need to think about in today's day and age, reality. Yet, I looked through the hallways and I said, that's great too. Clean observation between rooms, clear observation on the front door. And then I realized every classroom opens to the outdoors. On a hot day like this, they needed to because of no air conditioning. But I'm trying to simply draw a question between the complexities of what your needs are superimposed upon what your facilities have to offer. They have to offer a lot, like that science room, but you need to blend the two in a cost-effective way. Okay, if I may, I'm done with that series. Really, I pondered how to reflect on your district situation, because to come in from out of town, I wanted to do so in an honest sense of reality. I've walked through these buildings, and I felt to project it, I believe, in an honest way will help many of you say, is he telling the facts there? I won't say I'm not telling the truth, of course. But would you like to go see? And I invite you to go see some of these issues and put them in the context of some of the issues I've talked about. I think they're accurately reflected. So let's go on about what is a master plan. That's the purpose of this talk. A master plan has these objectives, I suggest, and you might want to add others. Create educational excellence. That's what it's all about. Create educational excellence and capital infrastructure balance through the entire K-12 program based on a fiscally solid educational delivery system operating within educational facilities which are appropriate, efficient, and affordable to the district and around which the school board and community can reach consensus for many years to come. I've seen a properly developed master plan be used for 10 years and save hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars by coordinating expenditures of maintenance with expenditures for remodeling or upgrading and starting to bring funds together cumulatively rather than piecemeal way. So, I've talked a lot about this topic. Another show of hands here. Raise your hand if you're a capital facility planner. Any capital facility planners out there? Stand up if you're, anybody who's stand up so I can see you. You must be way in the back. I like to suggest you all are. So the rest of this presentation is going to be in very specific terms. You are all facility planners. Anybody live in an apartment ever? Anybody buy a house? Anybody sell a house? Anybody downsizing a relative? Not downsizing the relative, downsizing where the relative lives, right? I heard that laugh. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, you're all facility planners, and you always have been. The question is always, how big a building do I need to house my family, to house me? Do I want to favor bedrooms because do I want to favor kitchen size or a big garage or other kinds of things, okay? You're all facility planners, and oops, the factors along the way change, maybe like technology in our schools. So sure enough, you need a bigger automobile. Oh, child graduates college and you have some expenses. Oh, I really want that boat I've thought about. Want to take a vacation. The issues you've had to deal with as a family or a person are identical to what the district faces. But too often we can drive by the school and say, God, that looks good, and I went there, and go on with your life, which is what people do. I accept that. But we're all facility planners, so let's keep going. My agenda tonight is I've talked about the school tours. I'd like to give you a brief background. A workshop objectives, I've talked about master plan. Obviously, I've changed my series here a bit, so let's get started. Who is Franklin Hill & Associates, and how did I get into this business? I started as a middle school teacher, and I love middle school teachers. Any of them out there? Man, if you can handle middle school, you can handle anything, okay? But I knew the facility I was working in was not serving my needs as an educator. So I became acquainted with people who planned educational facilities. So up in the right, you'll see qualifications in economics and finance. I did a curriculum and administration degree